Late at night, two tomb robbers with a freshly dug, still warm coffin planned to make a fortune by selling it overseas. Unexpectedly, the car door was not locked tightly, and the coffin slid into the river on the bumpy mountain road. Downstream was a bustling city with a large population. A mutation crisis was quietly approaching, and Bai Xiaofei was oblivious. Holding freshly boiled water and watching a zombie movie, Bai Xiaofei couldn't help but remark that zombies were slow and could be easily eliminated with firearms. Suddenly, he was startled by loud noises from next door, causing him to drop and break his water glass. However, the next moment, the sounds of joy turned into screams of pain. Peering through the door crack, Bai Xiaofei saw a terrifying face. His door was then broken down, and a female zombie crawled out from beneath it. Fortuitously, Bai Xiaofei had a fruit knife in his hand. Instinctively, he chopped off the zombie's head. Soon after, he received a call from a friend who informed him that their city's water supply was contaminated, turning hundreds into real-life zombies, and the entire city was now under martial law. Moreover, these zombies were terrifying. Even decapitation wouldn't kill them. Bai Xiaofei turned around to find the zombie split in two, its body filled with sharp teeth. Without a knife in hand, he only had a hairdryer. Attracted by the hot air, the zombie approached. Ingeniously, Bai Xiaofei threw the hairdryer into the zombie, hoping to electrocute it like in the movies. However, the plug came loose. At a critical moment, Bai Xiaofei remembered his girlfriend Rose and reconnected the plug, successfully frying the zombie. After recuperating, he received a call from Rose. As Bai Xiaofei was about to share his recent ordeal, Rose abruptly said, "Let's break up." Sensing something was amiss, Bai Xiaofei decided to find Rose for clarity. Just as he stepped downstairs, he saw a child urinating on the street. Initially thinking the child was just being careless, he soon saw a skeletal hand emerge from a drain and was tripped by his own pants. Bai Xiaofei wanted to urge the child to move along, but hesitated. The next second, a huge mutant zombie swallowed the child. This large zombie was not only fast but could also speak simple human language, showing some remnants of humanity. To avoid being tracked, Bai Xiaofei tearfully used his skill, Scatter Money, which distracted the mutant centipede zombie. After escaping the zombie's pursuit, Bai Xiaofei received a call from his mother. Pretending all was fine, he optimistically claimed the city was prospering and promised to visit her during the holidays. However, the large zombie quickly realized and pursued him. Bai Xiaofei hung up and hurriedly hid in a nearby building. The building's dark hallways were unsettling. First startled by a rat, then noticing a vine hanging from the ceiling, Bai Xiaofei marveled at the city's extensive greenery. Suddenly, a door opened in the distance, and a resident silently gestured to him. "Buddy, if you don't want to die, come over here fast." Through the crack of the door, illuminated by the light, Bai Xiaofei realized that what he thought was a vine was actually a mutant zombie's tongue. He quickly ran into the resident's home, only to find himself jumping out of the frying pan into the fire. The resident was a man dressed in women's clothing, who explained he was a manga artist specializing in young female characters and wore women's clothes to better understand women. He also had a penguin, a prize for his manga. Bai Xiaofei worried the penguin, deprived of water and possibly mutated, as the artist lamented that they had been without water for 3 days due to poverty. The artist then expressed a wish, and in front of Bai Xiaofei stripped off his clothes to reveal a bound arm with a bulging, wriggling mass. Suspecting a bug had burrowed inside him, he asked Bai Xiaofei to cut it out. With no anesthesia available, Bai Xiaofei tied the artist up first. However, the bug in the artist's body moved erratically, eventually heading towards his groin. Bai Xiaofei resorted to using his severing lineage kick technique. After several brutal attempts and just as Bai Xiaofei was about to cut the creature out, the bug re-entered the lower half of the artist's body. Finally, Bai Xiaofei managed to extract the bug, but before he could kill it, the penguin snatched it away, leaving Bai Xiaofei stunned and hastily bandaging the artist. Turning around, Bai Xiaofei noticed something was wrong. The penguin had mutated into a spider-like creature with multiple eyes, its tongue piercing through the wall. The two hurriedly hid in the bedroom, but the thin walls were no match for the mutated zombie. Bai Xiaofei asked the artist if the penguin had any favorite items, and the artist brought out a toy replica of the penguin, which successfully distracted it for a moment. However, with only one door in the bedroom, they would still be trapped. The artist urged Bai Xiaofei to leave first, citing his injuries as a hindrance. Bai Xiaofei thought to use a hairdryer again, but the cord was too short. Facing a dead end and knowing they were on the 6th floor with no escape, but death. If they jumped, Bai Xiaofei spotted a large tree close to the window. He decided to gamble with a bedsheet, hoping to land in the tree. He tried to persuade the artist to join him, but the artist went back for his iPhone, bought with money from selling his kidney. The artist was killed by the penguin's tongue piercing his head. Bai Xiaofei, having no choice, escaped alone and, luckily, landed in the tree, but was knocked unconscious. Upon waking, he thought of his girlfriend and, realizing he was still alive, prepared to continue searching for Rose. However, due to his injuries, he decided to return to his cheap rental to rest and recuperate before pursuing Rose again. The TV was still reporting on the mutation situation in City H. The tap water had been contaminated and was undrinkable. Ordinary organisms infected would rapidly mutate and could undergo a secondary mutation by consuming other organisms, making them extremely difficult to deal with. However, zombies' vision was deteriorating and their strength diminished at night. The more Bai Xiaofei watched, the more alarmed he became, so he turned on his computer to check the current situation. He then found a video of the extermination team tasked with eliminating the zombies being wiped out. The authorities were blocking the video, acknowledging that regular military forces couldn't handle these mutant zombies and had to call in a special team known as the Zodiac. Meanwhile, he learned that some were profiting from the crisis by selling a supposed anti-zombie mutation serum, a special supply from the USA. Bai Xiaofei also came across the serum priced at 70,000. For his girlfriend, he decided to take a risk, quickly placing an order. On the other side, Aldo and Lanhai of the Zodiac were out for a drive with the young lady they were protecting. Bai Xiaofei successfully received the serum, but it was no ordinary medicine. Indeed, it was from the USA, but it had been banned there due to its extremely low success rate and high fatality among users. Unscrupulous merchants had bought a batch and were selling it at high prices amid the zombie crisis. Few who bought it at such high prices dared to use it, as the serum had to be injected directly into the heart, and one had to survive the excruciating pain for 5 minutes before it took effect. The longer one endured after the injection, the better the effect of a subsequent blue serum shot. It was practically a gamble on one's life. 2 pilots mocked those who bought the serum as fools, only to be attacked by zombies themselves. Bai Xiaofei decided to gamble. He set a timer on his phone and resolutely injected the serum into his heart. Only 3 minutes had passed, and his heart was already beating explosively. He could hear the sounds of his muscles tearing and reconstituting. Bai Xiaofei couldn't bear the pain and passed out for nearly half a minute. As the timer reached 5 minutes, he suddenly opened his eyes, determined to endure longer. In a daze, he heard the artist's voice and upon opening his eyes, saw the artist merged with the penguin charging at him. Bai Xiaofei kicked him away. "Wow! Is this serum a Captain America mutation drug?" As the artist shot his tongue to grab Bai Xiaofei's hand, Bai Xiaofei prepared to counterattack with the machete that came with the serum. The artist saw the machete, lashed out his tongue and shattered the table. Fortunately, the machete was fine, but the blue antidote on the table broke. The machete flew into Bai Xiaofei's hand, and with it, he split the artist's tongue. Ready to end his misery, Bai Xiaofei exclaimed, "Dead people should just stay down." Then he split the artist with a single blow. By now, the injection had exceeded 8.5 minutes, and the antidote had been shattered. Bai Xiaofei tried to purchase another dose online, only to find the website had been blocked. He attempted to call customer service but ran out of phone credit. The serum had enhanced not only his physical capabilities, but also his brain. He remembered the components of the serum and figured out that the antidote consisted of a large amount of cold-natured drugs. Fortunately, there was a traditional Chinese medicine shop nearby. Driven by his terrifyingly enhanced physical condition and the urgent need to neutralize the serum's effects before he exploded, Bai Xiaofei grabbed his machete and rushed to the pharmacy. He quickly brewed a makeshift antidote from the cold-natured drugs he grabbed, learned from his grandfather's teachings in traditional Chinese medicine. Desperate, he drank several jars of it and collapsed on the ground. distended belly and all. Just then, a policewoman appeared at the door, mistaking the groaning Bai Xiaofei for a zombie and fired several shots at him. Luckily, Bai Xiaofei's enhanced senses allowed him to see the trajectory of the bullets and dodge them. Upon realizing Bai Xiaofei was human, she urged him to leave the area. Suddenly, a small Pokeball was thrown in from outside, prompting Bai Xiaofei to quip, "What's with the Pokemon now?" However, there was no Pokemon inside, and the creature in a Pikachu costume was not Pikachu. A zombie dressed as Pikachu emerged and was promptly knocked away by Bai Xiaofei with a punch. Stepping outside, he found not only an Ultraman, but also another survivor running towards him. Seeing Ultraman attack the survivor, Bai Xiaofei realized it was just cosplay. The survivor quickly subdued Ultraman, beating him on the ground. The policewoman tried to stop them from fighting, but then a horde of zombies escaped from a neighboring fan convention. The survivor also urged Bai Xiaofei to flee. At that moment, a large spring onion was thrown, piercing the survivor's head. Bai Xiaofei turned around to see a scene resembling a zombie siege in an anime convention. He quickly picked up the policewoman and ran, but the Pikachu zombie was fast on their heels. As Bai Xiaofei ran, his heart beat violently. Spotting a metal spike in an alley, he kicked it, impaling the Pikachu zombie. Worried that Pikachu might slow them down with the advancing horde of 2D zombies close behind, they could be overwhelmed. Fortunately, the metal spike acted like a lightning rod, and the Pikachu zombie was instantly incinerated. Herbal tea could only cool him down so much. Bai Xiaofei's injection had now lasted over an hour, and he was struggling to hold on. Spitting blood, he continued to carry the policewoman, heading towards his friend's hotel where he remembered there was a freezer. Upon reaching the hotel's freezer, his body felt like it was about to explode from the heat. Before passing out, he rushed into the freezer with the policewoman, wondering if she really wouldn't freeze to death. By now, the injection had been affecting him for over an hour and a half, and the heavy rain was exacerbating the negative effects. Outside, floodgates began to open above the initially infected reservoir, and the source of the mutant zombies, the coffin, slowly started to open. The policewoman woke up from the cold. She had been drenched by the rain and then thrown into the freezer. Next to her, Bai Xiaofei was unconscious and still feverish. To prevent both of them from freezing to death inside, the policewoman decisively hugged Bai Xiaofei for warmth. By this time, 2 hours had passed since Bai Xiaofei's injection. Inside City H, many people gathered at evacuation points, preparing to leave. A few university students, believing that a zombie bite wouldn't cause immediate mutation, decided to find a less crowded area. Meanwhile, a plane flew over City H. The commander received news that his daughter, Lin Long, along with 2 members of the Zodiac still in their trial period, had entered City H. Aldo was tasked with calming Lin Long's emotions, while Lanhai fell asleep and used astral projection to observe the situation in City H. He discovered other forces had infiltrated the area, including a man obsessed with his hairstyle and a special foreign department. Lanhai thought this would make things interesting. Bai Xiaofei had been unconscious for nearly 10 hours. As his temperature started to drop, the policewoman was also struggling to endure. Meanwhile, the coffin submerged beneath the reservoir was opened by zombie fish. The white-haired zombie inside seemingly found the elixir of immortality, but was betrayed. He drank the blood of the zombie fish, curious to see the world 1,000 years later. The 4 university students were still hesitating about whether to wait for evacuation. The chubby one worried that the library was too dangerous, but now the evacuation point was also compromised. The purified water provided there was contaminated, causing people who drank it to be infected. Chaos ensued at the evacuation point. The general manager of the purified water company, seeing the situation deteriorate, grabbed the money and attempted to flee, but was eaten by his own employees. When the policewoman awoke, she found herself lying on a large hotel bed, dressed only in underwear. She was quite embarrassed. Bai Xiaofei quickly explained that he hadn't seen anything and hurried out to find clothes for her. After changing into the clothes, which looked very pretty on her, she introduced herself as Hui and asked Bai Xiaofei about his plans. Bai Xiaofei said he needed to go downtown to find his girlfriend. Hui mentioned her colleague had been eaten by a centipede zombie, and she wanted to return to City S to find her parents. She told Bai Xiaofei not to worry about her since she was a cop and could handle herself. Bai Xiaofei felt that off-duty. She was just like any ordinary girl, Since it was on the way, he decided to take Hui to the evacuation point. As they approached the evacuation point, Bai Xiaofei suddenly had a bad feeling and decisively took Hui down a different route. Just as they entered an alley, they saw two zombies kissing. Shocked, Bai Xiaofei exclaimed, "Dead and still in love?" Hui was moved and somewhat embarrassed, jokingly saying that kissing could lead to pregnancy and wondered if these two zombies might have baby zombies. Bai Xiaofei remarked that Hui's biology teacher might turn in his grave. Just then, the female zombie's stomach began to swell. Bai Xiaofei was startled as the male zombie lifted her up and then swallowed her whole, mutating into a giant zombie. Bai Xiaofei assured Hui not to worry as he was about to test the effectiveness of the serum. He kicked out, but it had no effect, and he ended up being thrown against a wall. Hui was very worried about Bai Xiaofei's condition. Bai Xiaofei told her to go to the hospital and wait for him, while also asking her to find some blood pressure-lowering medication. He chose to stay behind to deal with the zombie alone. Just as Hui left, the zombie attacked Bai Xiaofei from behind. Bai Xiaofei ran, but the zombie threw a car at him. He rolled to dodge, and the car exploded upon hitting the ground near a gas station. Fire blocked the front, and a large zombie was behind him. A calabash zombie also emerged from the fire, and the two zombies collided. One was swallowed by the other. Bai Xiaofei seized this chance to slip away, running to the nearby Sunshine Kindergarten, hoping to use the high-voltage electric box there to kill the zombie. At the kindergarten entrance, Bai Xiaofei found a little girl in a giraffe costume named Deer, who was looking for her mother. He hid her in a nearby water pipe as the zombie's sounds drew closer. Bai Xiaofei ran to the electric box, planning to lure the zombie and smash the box with an iron rod. However, the zombie was too quick, and Bai Xiaofei's attempt failed. He jumped aside as the zombie lifted him up, ready to swallow him. Just as Bai Xiaofei was about to be swallowed, Deer shouted, "Don't eat, uncle!" This distracted the zombie, which then rushed to swallow Deer. Bai Xiaofei picked up a ground wire pole and threw it, impaling the zombie's stomach, but he couldn't pull another nearby pole. The zombie, seeing this, lunged at him but fell clumsily. Bai Xiaofei then took Deer and asked where her home was. Deer said her mother had called 2 days ago but hadn't come yet. Her father was abroad, so she had been staying with an aunt at the kindergarten. But just earlier, a bear zombie had bitten the aunt's neck. Thus, Bai Xiaofei decided to take Deer to find her parents, but didn't notice the calabash zombie escaped from the large zombie's mouth. Later, Bai Xiaofei took Deer to a supermarket, soothing her with a lollipop, but he noticed a dazzling light in the distance. He immediately went to investigate and was hit on the head by a cactus ball from above. He took Deer to confront whoever was responsible, but encountered a hanging zombie at the stairwell entrance. Deer screamed in fright, and a man's voice over the loudspeaker controlled the zombies. The hanging zombie, with an elongated neck, muttered, 100 points. Bai Xiaofei noticed a mental hospital ID on the zombie. He decisively smashed the nearby fire axe cabinet, took 2 axes, and chopped the zombie's neck. Deer obediently hid, and the voice over the loudspeaker mentioned stronger zombies on the 4th floor. Bai Xiaofei guessed this person saw him through surveillance and quickly destroyed the cameras. The man over the loudspeaker felt underestimated by Bai Xiaofei. His mental state was unstable. He had kidnapped other psychiatrists and brainwashed more zombies, believing he could create a zombie kingdom. Meanwhile, Deer hid in a room, and when a zombie knocked on the door, she initially thought it was Bai Xiaofei returning. Realizing it wasn't, she immediately dove under the covers. Upstairs, Bai Xiaofei found Hui's necklace. Soon after, 2 zombies with metallic necks appeared. Bai Xiaofei quickly tangled their necks together and scolded the man using mental illness for experiments. Picking up Hui's necklace, he went to find people and soon encountered a Yamada no Orochi, zombie version. The man behind the broadcast boasted that this was his most powerful creation, and claimed the woman Bai Xiaofei was looking for was with him. Bai Xiaofei realized these zombies still had cognitive abilities and had been brainwashed to act like diligent students. He decided to challenge them with a question. The 7 heads were stumped by a math problem, but one persisted. Bai Xiaofei then asked the hardest question. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? Elsewhere, the deranged experimenter used Dr. Yu Xiaojia's beloved dog to threaten her into becoming his woman. Just then, Bai Xiaofei burst into the room. The madman had already injected the dog with a serum, causing it to mutate, but surprisingly, the dog still obeyed Yu Xiaojia. The madman claimed his serum was not a zombie virus but meant to evolve humans. He then injected himself with a large dose of the serum and mocked Bai Xiaofei's enhanced eyes, claiming his own serum was superior. He then grabbed Bai Xiaofei. Yu Xiaojia commanded the dog to bite the madman, but he punched the dog away. Bai Xiaofei swung an axe at the madman, finding his arm as hard as metal, and was then thrown out of the building. The madman told Yu Xiaojia he had prepared an evolutionary serum for her too, claiming it would not alter her appearance, and injected her. Meanwhile, Bai Xiaofei climbed to the hospital's pharmacy and found an important serum. After being injected, Yu Xiaojia discovered she could seemingly control the wind around her. She instinctively blocked the madman's approach, but the damage was minimal to him. Hui was worried for Yu Xiaojia, while Bai Xiaofei had fought his way back and deliberately let the madman capture him. He threw out sulfuric acid he had found, and as the madman became rigid, poured hydrofluoric acid into his mouth. He was told it was super concentrated fertilizer, essentially feeding the madman a mouthful of urine. The madman broke down as his gloves were corroded by the sulfuric acid Bai Xiaofei threw. Bai Xiaofei was thrown again, thinking he was done for. The dog returned and bit the madman's head. Bai Xiaofei then attached a bomb to the madman, who punched the dog away but exploded before realizing what had happened. Bai Xiaofei remarked that the madman could have been a talent if he had chosen the right path. The dog, after being thrown, reverted to its original form. Bai Xiaofei and the others found deer. The calabash zombie that had been knocking on doors earlier was wandering in the building and found and devoured the madman's corpse. Bai Xiaofei and the group left the mental hospital and arrived at Dr. Yu Xiaojia's house. A relaxed Bai Xiaofei had fallen asleep and upon waking, found himself in the master bedroom. For safety, Yu Xiaojia and Hui were also in the same room. Accidentally touching Hui's buttocks, Bai Xiaofei was abruptly woken up and given a beating by the two women. Feeling wronged, Bai Xiaofei went out to find clothes and came back to be fed noodles. Meanwhile, Deer mentioned a large rooster at her house front, leading the two women to find a neighborhood with a large rooster statue on the map. Conveniently, the neighborhood was near an evacuation point. Bai Xiaofei decided to first help Deer find her mother, and then take the two women to the evacuation point. Before leaving, Bai Xiaofei prepared by taking a kitchen knife as a weapon. As they stepped onto a bridge, they saw a mutated zombie fish in the river. Nearby, a man with a sword was throwing passers-by into the river for not styling their hair properly. Hui, being a police officer, immediately recognized him as one of the leaders of the Blood Lotus cult, a group long wanted by the police. Bai Xiaofei commented on the absurdity of it being a cult. The man noticed them and approached. He declared he would spare their lives if they stayed, then swung his large sword at Bai Xiaofei, breaking his reinforced kitchen knife. Bai Xiaofei had to rip off a car door to use as a shield. The swordsman thought Bai Xiaofei was doomed but didn't expect him to charge, knocking the swordsman off his feet. However, the swordsman was not upset about being defeated, but about Bai Xiaofei criticizing his hairstyle. As the swordsman was off guard, Bai Xiaofei threw chemicals taken from the mad scientist's lab, blasting the swordsman away. Yu Xiaojia used her wind powers to throw stones and, being skilled in medicine, sealed the swordsman's acupoints. The swordsman fell into the river, and Bai Xiaofei retrieved his sword. The group then reached Deer's neighborhood, which was surrounded by zombies. Bai Xiaofei was concerned about Deer's mother's safety. After clearing the zombies outside, a swarm of mosquitoes burst from the building, targeting women and children. Just as the mosquitoes were about to attack Deer, they were shot down by the neighborhood store's security guard. He let Bai Xiaofei and the group into the store. For a security guard, his gear seemed overly sophisticated. Bai Xiaofei explained their situation and asked if the guard could help find Deer's mother. The guard was silent until Deer tugged at Bai Xiaofei's clothes, expressing her wish to find her mom. Bai Xiaofei promised to help but mentioned they needed to prepare better with mosquito coils, repellent, and electric swatters. The guard did not stop them and, after looking at a photo in his hand, suddenly agreed to accompany them in the search. The security guard then pulled out a stash of weapons, including grenades. He explained that a special forces team had been attacked here before, and he had picked up the equipment they left behind. The security guard had wanted to join the military, but was rejected for being too thin and not tall enough. Fortunately, the building's elevator was still operational and free of zombies. The group decided to take the elevator upstairs. Deer remembered they needed to go to the 12th floor. After starting, the elevator shook violently as it reached the 6th floor. Bai Xiaofei instructed the security guard to aim his gun at the ceiling, just as corrosive liquid started dripping down. Luckily, they reached the 12th floor without further incident, and no zombies followed them out of the elevator. However, Deer's apartment door was open. Bai Xiaofei and the security guard entered first to check and found no one inside. The belongings were still there, indicating the occupants had left in a hurry. Deer was upset, fearing her mother had abandoned her. She was so distraught that she even refused the lollipop Bai Xiaofei offered. Deer asked if her mother might have been eaten by monsters. Yu Xiaojia found a photo of Deer's mother and hoped to use it to find her. Just then, mosquitoes that had followed them were eaten by a two-headed lizard. Bai Xiaofei and the security guard stayed to fight the zombie lizard, which snatched the security guard's gun. Bai Xiaofei managed to cut off its tail, but the lizard's tail could regenerate. The security guard told Bai Xiaofei to leave and pulled the pin on a grenade, throwing it. However, the grenade did not kill the lizard monster, and Yu Xiaojia and the others were still outside since the elevator was out of service and the stairs were too dangerous. The lizard monster chased them again. Bai Xiaofei was caught off guard, but the security guard threw another grenade. The monster ate the grenade and exploded at that moment. The security guard then shot the two heads of the monster. As they prepared to leave the building, the lizard's wounds healed again. The security guard decided to stay behind to cover their escape, but ran out of explosives. He looked at a photo in his hand, reminded Bai Xiaofei of his promise to help the child find her mother, and handed Bai Xiaofei his notebook to send back to his family. Bai Xiaofei questioned why he wouldn't leave, noting they could have escaped during their conversation. They made it to the 3rd floor by stairs, avoiding mosquito eggs, but the passage from the 3rd to the 1st floor was overrun with eggs, forcing them back to the elevator. Upon opening the elevator door, they encountered another lizard. Bai Xiaofei dealt with it, but the lizard's blood was corrosive and flowed toward the mosquito eggs. The worst part was that the elevator was also corroded. As the mosquito eggs began to burst, Bai Xiaofei sealed the door and threw a pile of mosquito coils at the entrance, taking his team into a room on the 3rd floor. He guessed they were now in an infected zone and advised his team not to split up. Just as Yu Xiaojia asked what they should do next, something suddenly hit her and sent her flying downstairs. A frog fused with a child emerged. Bai Xiaofei commented that the building was full of elite monsters. The frog child spat continuously, almost demolishing the entire 3rd floor. Hui protected Deer and the dog, while Bai Xiaofei's weapon was knocked away. Facing a monster that could attack repeatedly, Bai Xiaofei found it hard to counter. Luckily, he remembered that frogs, geckos, and mosquitoes counter each other. He instructed Hui to take Deer to the door while he fetched mosquito repellent and opened the door swarming with mosquitoes. The three avoided the mosquitoes using the repellent, and the frog was distracted by the insects, ignoring the child's commands. The unfortunate child had just hit a load-bearing wall, causing the entire building to shake and begin to collapse. Yu Xiaojia, who had fallen outside, was nearly crushed by debris. Bai Xiaofei and Hui finally made it to the 1st floor, only to find the exit blocked. The dog found a way out, but was hit by falling debris. Bai Xiaofei held up a slab of concrete and told Hui they must find a way to survive. When Yu Xiaojia opened her eyes again, she saw the entire building had collapsed, and zombies were converging on the noise behind her. Elsewhere, the command center responsible for clearing City H launched a giant missile targeting a giant baby zombie at the stadium. However, the baby was not killed. The resurrected white-haired zombie from the coffin had his subordinates capture 2 female teachers to learn foreign languages and complained about the taste of their blood. He forcibly inserted mutant genes into a female student. The baby zombie at the stadium could recover quickly. Efforts were ongoing to rescue people trapped in the building. Meanwhile, 4 university students were also inside the stadium, watched by the white-haired zombie's subordinates. One student, Milk, borrowed expensive cosmetics from a friend and used his good looks to distract a female zombie, hoping to help his friends and others escape. However, someone always lags behind. The female zombie discovered their escape attempt and began a massacre in the library, knocking Milk unconscious. Chubby and his teammates hurriedly carried Milk as they fled. Midway, Milk woke up, and Chubby regretted not being able to save everyone. But then he himself was impaled through the head by a zombie's tongue. Bai Xiaofei was about to lose consciousness, but saw his girlfriend Rose in a dream. Bai Xiaofei and another boy had confessed to Rose. The other boy was better off and humorous, but Rose chose Bai Xiaofei for his responsibility and sense of security. As Bai Xiaofei turned around, Rose transformed into Hui, and everyone was urging him to wake up. Bai Xiaofei opened his eyes to find they were trapped under the rubble, next to Yu Xiaojia's phone. Remembering his girlfriend saying he was responsible, Bai Xiaofei became even more determined to get Yu Xiaojia and the others to a safe place. Hui built a support with wood, allowing Bai Xiaofei to catch his breath. Elsewhere, Yu Xiaojia thought Bai Xiaofei and the others had perished, driven by zombies towards the evacuation point, only to find it in ruins. Meanwhile, Milk and his fellow students were fleeing, but were discovered by a female zombie. However, a member of a special squad burst in and saved them, though their team leader was killed in the process. This man, known as Ghost Stick, prepared to cover Milk and the others as they evacuated. Suddenly, he received a team alert that they were being attacked by something other than zombies outside. Soon, an updated evacuation point was broadcast to everyone's phones, guiding them on their journey. The killed team leader's phone ended up in the hands of the white-haired zombie, who also saw the updated evacuation point. On another side, Miss Lin Long, accompanied by 2 members of the Zodiac, used a building as a stronghold. Together with Aldo and Lanhai, they cleared out a wave of zombies. Lin Long then received a call from her father, learning that the virus had spread beyond City H, with the exact cause still unknown. The authorities decided to first address the overflow of zombies and planned to completely seal off City H, turning it into a true zombie paradise. Bai Xiaofei and his group were still unable to escape from the rubble. Meanwhile, the authorities had identified the culprit behind the outbreak. A company that had been selling tap water as purified water, which had a presence in 24 provinces nationwide. Explaining the rapid spread of the virus, Bai Xiaofei sang to help Deer fall asleep, resigned to possibly not getting out. Hui felt lucky to have met Bai Xiaofei. Just then, the dog that had been hit by a stone earlier came carrying a red sword, and the Gecko brothers also appeared. Bai Xiaofei had previously cut off one of their tongues, and now, enraged, they burrowed into the rubble seeking to kill Bai Xiaofei. The security guard had always aspired to be a man with a gun, and had eagerly enlisted in the army, but was disqualified during the medical examination. He then saw an advertisement for security guards online and joined a security company, becoming a proud security guard. Bai Xiaofei noticed the wallet that had fallen from the security guard's bag, which contained a family photo and a picture of the neighborhood. Nearby was an underground parking lot. Bai Xiaofei asked Hui to support a stone with a pillar while he took a risk and punctured the floor, trapping the Gecko brothers under a rock, which flung the dog away. Meanwhile, Lin Long and her group were preparing to evacuate. Aldo mentioned unidentified flying objects on the radar, but Lin Long could no longer care. She was just out for some air and was being called back already, feeling bored. However, Lin Long's adventurous move seemed reckless as the plane encountered flying mutant zombie birds before leaving City H, and Aldo and Lanhai had to fight them off. The Gecko brothers were disrupted by a Calabash brother. Bai Xiaofei managed to break through the floor and fell into the underground parking lot, escaping to safety. But when he looked back, he realized Deer was missing. At that moment, Deer was in the parking lot, having found her family's car. Bai Xiaofei and Hui came over just as the car door was removed. Deer then noticed maggots in her mother's hair. Bai Xiaofei also realized the situation was grim. Deer's mother had mutated. Hui tried to cover Deer's eyes, but Deer had already seen everything and didn't want Bai Xiaofei to kill her mother, hoping instead that she could escape. Hui also felt it would be too cruel to kill Deer's mother in front of her. However, Bai Xiaofei knew that Deer's mother had worm eggs inside her, and not dealing with it immediately could cause future problems. Hui decisively took Deer away, unable to let her witness such a cruel scene. Bai Xiaofei sighed and covered their escape, heading to a convenience store they had visited before to calm Deer down. But Deer was on the verge of a breakdown. Bai Xiaofei went to find something else to eat but was caught up by Deer's mother, who tried to attack him. Hearing the noise, Deer came over and saw Bai Xiaofei's palm pierced. As her mother prepared to kill Bai Xiaofei, Deer rushed to shield him. Her mother, seeing Deer, hesitated due to her stiffened consciousness, torn between not wanting to hurt her and reacting to her own body's urges. Bai Xiaofei grabbed a box of ketchup and threw it at Deer's mother. It missed, but the ketchup flew into her mouth. Perhaps reminded of her child, Deer's mother regained some control and fled. Deer immediately followed her, while Bai Xiaofei, exhausted and injured, collapsed just outside the supermarket. Meanwhile, Lin Long, who had just battled zombie birds, was forced to make an emergency landing on a nearby street because the plane was overloaded. She found Bai Xiaofei unconscious and decided to try to save him. Bai Xiaofei was concerned that Deer might turn into a zombie. Upon waking, he wanted to search for her, but was restrained by a tough nurse who injected him. Elsewhere, Deer was picked up by a man wearing a mask. Hui, realizing both Bai Xiaofei and Deer were gone, was about to go looking for them when she met a handsome white-haired man. He took out a phone, mentioned the updated evacuation point, and promised to protect Hui. He had noticed a calabash zombie following them, but kept quiet, leading Hui to guide him. On another front, an international force attacked the survival point. When Bai Xiaofei woke up, he was inside the survival point and soon saw a laboratory. Lanhai informed him that he had lost a lot of blood and had been saved by medical staff through blood transfusions. The new blood diluted the serum in his body, weakening his abilities, which was actually good because the serum was a prototype. If not diluted, it would eventually have overwhelmed his heart. At that moment, Lanhai noticed the signal was lost and prepared to check outside. Bai Xiaofei, curious about the laboratory, couldn't help but reach for the doorknob. Just then, a ninja organization unlocked the laboratory's large lock, triggering alarms throughout the building. When Bai Xiaofei opened the door, he saw only a blood-stained pit. Outside, Ghost Stick was frantically playing whack-a-mole because the ninja team members could burrow into the ground. Ghost Stick cleverly placed mines underground and removed the sticks as the ninjas approached, causing the mines to explode instantly. Fat C, who had been watching with Deer, was stunned and quickly grabbed Deer to escape amidst the chaos. Bai Xiaofei wandered around the basement and suddenly saw a boy wearing a Sun Wukong mask being thrown across the room. Initially thinking he was a zombie cosplayer, Bai Xiaofei soon realized the boy could talk and was saying his father was in danger. Bai Xiaofei, holding the unconscious boy, decided to look for a doctor but found dead soldiers in the corridor. The boy cried for his father as Bai Xiaofei checked the soldiers' wounds, confirming they weren't caused by zombies. In a warehouse, Bai Xiaofei found an enhanced version of the serum he had injected. Out of 12 boxes, 11 were empty, with only one box of oral solution left. He quickly fed half to the dying child to help him survive and drank the rest himself, only to find this serum didn't cause any pain, unlike the heart injections. Suddenly, the floor cracked open and a mummy emerged. It wasn't actually a mummy, but a red-robed ninja carrying it. Seeing Bai Xiaofei's golden eyes, the ninja guessed he was an enhanced human and prepared to capture him, using a shadow cloning technique. Elsewhere, Lanhai and Aldo also faced opponents. Lin Long sent a machine to help, but the enemy was too tough. After firing a volley, the machine retreated. Meanwhile, Bai Xiaofei was getting beaten by the ninja, but soon identified the real body among the clones. The red-robed ninja mentioned he had exhausted much of his strength killing that guard, and promised Bai Xiaofei would pay next time before disappearing with his loot. The awakened boy decided to become Bai Xiaofei's disciple to learn martial arts and avenge his father. The other ninjas also began to retreat. Yu Xiaojia followed the address to the evacuation point and found many civilians trapped in a car. After the ninjas retreated, they released an explosive technique that destroyed the car and its occupants. They had intended to blow up the building too, but Deer, following Fat C, saw a drawing on the wall. She used a crayon to erase the formation, saving the building. The ninjas sensed a powerful force approaching and evacuated with the mummy. Bai Xiaofei soon met Fat C at the evacuation point, the same guy who had confessed to Rose with him. Fat C was also worried about Rose and criticized Bai Xiaofei for not finding her yet. At that moment, Deer rushed into Bai Xiaofei's arms. Bai Xiaofei told Fat Si that he and Rose had broken up, and he was still on his way to find her. Hearing this, Fat Si thought he might still have a chance. The Sun Wukong boy also met Deer. Before Bai Xiaofei could explain his breakup, Hui and Yu Xiaojia saw him and immediately ran to hug him, leaving Fat Si feeling split. Long Yu, who arrived with Hui at the evacuation point, was also taken aback, almost mistaking Bai Xiaofei for someone deceased. At that moment, Milk, a surviving college student, also rushed into Bai Xiaofei's arms. Surprisingly, the two turned out to be cousins. Lanhai and the others were discussing how to evacuate the civilians when Lin Long's robot suddenly alerted them to a large number of strange zombies approaching. It immediately identified Long Yu in the crowd, issuing a warning that he was a level 3S infected person. Hui found this unbelievable. Upon hearing the news, someone attacked but was instantly killed by Long Yu, who then revealed his true identity as the zombie from the coffin. Elsewhere, a man claiming to be the God Emperor devoured a woman and furiously accused descendants of a person named Long of stealing his elixir of immortality formula. Meanwhile, Lin Long's robot self-destructed, but Long Yu grabbed another robot and exploded it, injuring Bai Xiaofei and his successor. Hui and Yu Xiaojia were worried about Bai Xiaofei's condition. Long Yu stared at Hui for a while. At that moment, a chameleon pounced on another person, transforming into Long Yu's appearance and controlling bystanders as puppets. Long Yu declared that having lived 1,000 years, it was hard to find a worthy opponent. Aldo and Lanhai transformed to fight, but were thrown by the chameleon's puppet minions. Lanhai attempted to use psychic hypnosis to control Long Yu, but was countered by Long Yu's infrasound wave attack, sweeping the area and knocking Lanhai back to his original form. Others also passed out. Aldo and Ghost Stick felt unwell, while Bai Xiaofei and Fat Si were unharmed. Fat Si had internal strength from martial arts training. Ghost Stick warned that the infrasound was severe, and if Long Yu wasn't interrupted, all living beings in the city would die within minutes. Ghost Stick decided to risk his life, handed his equipment to Bai Xiaofei, blocked his own hearing with golden needles, and planned to create an escape route for the survivors. Ghost Stick punched the chameleon away, then charged and punched Long Yu. Aldo decided to take drugs to boost his strength, and together, they managed to push Long Yu out of the building to protect the civilians inside. After taking the drugs, Aldo transformed into a Beast King, but unexpectedly, Long Yu also enhanced his muscles and strength. Bai Xiaofei wanted to join in, thinking 3 against 1 could surely win. However, Fat Si, trained in martial arts, realized that despite appearing to be a 2-on-1 fight, Long Yu still had the upper hand. Ghost Stick threw 2 grenades, which Long Yu, unfamiliar with them, grabbed. Meanwhile, Fat Si couldn't just watch anymore because Long Yu's infrasound had attracted a horde of Plants vs. Zombies-style undead creatures. The young boy told Deer to run first, and Fat Si and Bai Xiaofei came over, joking that the zombies had wandered onto the wrong set and commenting on how useful the gloves they found were. Long Yu's hand was blown off by the grenades, but it quickly regenerated. Deciding to stop playing around, Long Yu grabbed Aldo's ankle and swung him as a weapon. Aldo was flung out and smashed through a building. Subsequently, Long Yu tore off one of Ghost Stick's arms and, admiring his fighting spirit, asked if he wanted to become immortal. Ghost Stick refused, initially planning to blow up both himself and Long Yu with a bomb, but was kicked away by Long Yu. Meanwhile, Bai Xiaofei and Fat Si coordinated their efforts and successfully drove away a group of zombies, rescuing the young boy and the dog. Lin Long also rushed out, and during this time, Long Yu entered. He had heard from Hui, while escorting her to the evacuation point, that Bai Xiaofei was risking everything to find his girlfriend. Long Yu remarked that Bai Xiaofei resembled his ancestor, a great general who was unmatched in battle, and wondered why Bai Xiaofei seemed so much weaker. Hui felt it was a pity for Bai Xiaofei. Hearing that Lanhai and Aldo might be in danger, Lin Long fired a rocket at Long Yu, but his wounds healed quickly. Bai Xiaofei told Long Yu to mind his own business and was thrown away by him. Fat Si's attacks were ineffective. Not only did Long Yu take Lin Long's rocket launcher, but he also uprooted her by the head. After dealing with them, Long Yu decided to take Hui away, declaring her his first friend since his resurrection and promising to ensure her well-being. Bai Xiaofei and Fat Si knew this was bad news. but they were no match for Long Yu. Ultimately, Hui agreed to leave with him, sparing their lives. Hui was taken to a library that no one else could enter. The surrounding army tasked with evacuation was wiped out, leaving only Fat C and others. Yu Xiaojia informed Bai Xiaofi that the next evacuation point was at Wanhe Square, close to his girlfriend's home. It was only a half-hour walk from their location. After so many days of the zombie crisis, Bai Xiaofei hoped Rose had evacuated earlier, but he still needed to get his companions to the evacuation point. His cousin Milk was eager, but suddenly felt an itch in his throat, unaware of anything unusual growing inside. Meanwhile, to save Lin Long, Lan Hai temporarily stored her soul inside his body. Lin Long's father consulted a master who was somewhat hard of hearing. The commander decided to deploy the 2nd Special Forces team to find a solution for Long Yu. As Bai Xiaofei led his team towards Wanhe Square, they encountered a large number of zombies en route. Milk reconsidered continuing, but Bai Xiaofei grabbed a flash grenade from a storehouse and shared his plan with the group. Suddenly, a zombie poked its head out, startling Deer, who rolled down a slope and was caught by zombies below. As zombies converged on her, seeing Deer in peril, Bai Xiaofei immediately rushed out to divert their attention. He managed to retrieve Deer and abandoned Plan A, deciding instead to draw all the zombies together to buy Fat C and the others time to escape. Unfortunately, he accidentally ran into a dead end. Long Yu's English proficiency had reached level 4, and his undead body had recovered to 80%. Bai Xiaofei, using the gloves left by Ghost Stick, easily climbed up the wall and escaped. However, he still had to descend through the building's stairway. He was worried about encountering zombies inside, but instead found a survivor's alliance with many defensive mechanisms at the entrance. Bai Xiaofei rang the doorbell, and after being scrutinized through a surveillance camera, a man opened the door. He revealed that he and his pregnant wife, former supermarket owners, were doomsday preppers who had stockpiled supplies for 3 years. The couple had decided against evacuating City H due to the wife's pregnancy. Bai Xiaofei was curious about other survivors but was told he and Deer were the first to arrive. Noticing paper cups and many cigarette butts in the ashtray, Bai Xiaofei declined the offered drink. However, the man had a knife at his waist and suddenly embraced Deer. Concerned for the child's safety, Bai Xiaofei reluctantly drank the tea, then pretended Deer needed the bathroom before their bedtime, where he vomited and discovered a camera in the stall. Bai Xiaofei suspected they were in a trap. The couple led them to a room they claimed was their daughter's, filled with surveillance cameras, confirming their ill intentions. Bai Xiaofei, unwilling to be captured, acted out by hanging from the ceiling, reminding the couple he was not to be trifled with. The couple hesitated upon seeing this on the monitors. Bai Xiaofei spent the night hanging from the ceiling. Waking up, he intended to use the bathroom but saw the wife with a cloak and a bucket heading to a hidden iron door. Bai Xiaofei sneaked in and discovered the wife feeding a bucket of meat to a zombie, their daughter. It turned out the survivors' alliance was a ruse to lure unsuspecting travelers to feed their zombie daughter. Bai Xiaofei jumped onto the zombie, intending to use her as leverage, but the husband disagreed. Already reluctant to keep a zombie daughter and with a pregnant wife carrying a son, he felt it was time to let go of the zombie daughter and turned on the electricity to kill both Bai Xiaofei and the zombie daughter. Bai Xiaofei shook his head, believing zombies should not be kept, but also disapproved of the husband's sexist attitudes. Eventually, the couple died at the hands of their zombie daughter who broke free from her chains. Bai Xiaofei did not kill the zombie, considering Deer was still with him. He ran into Fat C halfway, who confirmed that everyone else was safe. They encountered an elderly man who had fallen in an alley. Just then, a large zombie chasing Fat C appeared. Bai Xiaofei's thrown grenade failed to stop it. They quickly hid inside a house, but the zombie punched through the wall and grabbed Fat C, who had already prepared his last words. Fat C took off his hat and threw it to Bai Xiaofei, saying it contained a letter from Rose. Bai Xiaofei quickly pulled out a flash grenade and used a rock to break the zombie's arm, allowing Fat C to narrowly escape. However, the large zombie kept targeting Fat C. Bai Xiaofei smashed its stomach with a manhole cover. Despite being injured, the zombie continued to chase them, knowing better than to follow into narrow alleys. Bai Xiaofei and Fat C lured it to an abandoned factory, where they used a magnetic feature to explode the zombie, with the iron manhole cover still in its stomach. Meanwhile, An elderly man protected Deer by hiding. However, a zombie discovered them through a hole, but was then captured by a mutated calabash zombie. The elderly man led Deer inside a building, startling a black man they encountered. Elsewhere, Bai Xiaofei and Fat C ran into members of a ninja organization. A female ninja attacked them with poisoned darts, and they were unwittingly poisoned. The black man also encountered zombies, but skillfully used the 7th set of broadcast exercises to beat them. Just as Bai Xiaofei and Fat C thought they were doomed, a man expert in the lion's roar technique appeared, using Shaolin martial arts. Simultaneously, a large number of fighter jets appeared. The female ninja received orders through her earpiece to leave, signaling the start of a clearance plan. The poison in Bai Xiaofei and Fat C was neutralized. The fighter jets were escorting transport planes carrying newly developed weapons that emit human distress signals and sense to attract zombies, then electrocute them with an electric discharge. Long Yu, watching this on TV, found the electricity intriguing and ordered his subordinates to capture an electric eel. After consuming it, he gained electrical powers. Meanwhile, Bai Xiaofei found Deer and the elderly man, finally reaching safety. Bai Xiaofei planned to go find Rose, but then remembered the letter from Fat C. It turned out to be Rose's last words. Rose had broken up with Bai Xiaofei because she was infected. Knowing Bai Xiaofei would come for her, she wanted to remain beautiful in his memory and broke up before her death. Devastated, Bai Xiaofei was overwhelmed upon learning that his journey to find his lover ended with the news she had infected herself to spare him the burden. This revelation shattered him emotionally.